close that. Try again. Welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. Y'all already know what's popping. Another day in paradise. You know, it's 10 a.m. on a Sunday. We also go live on 10 a.m. on Saturdays. And then 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. That's when you come looking for your boy. Other than that, well, I'm going to just have to see what it do. Got the Rumble video started. Oh, now I popped up. Well, congratulations. See, that's why we do it live. Anyways, welcome back, Rumble. You know, it's your boy TWP doing another video for you. You know how we do. We got stuff to go through, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it in motion. Adrian Carpenter, good to see you. How you doing? Hopefully you're doing good, smoking good. If not, hit the buy me a coffee and get you some of that monetization coaching. We'll get you making more money so you can have something to buy some better smoke with. You know how we do. But anyways, let's see. Just have to play all. I'm gonna roll up while we start talking about these videos. You know, moving around, doing good. You know, time's flying by through June. We already in June now, so hell, we ready to see 2026.
Pick a strain, whatever you want, you could get. Indica sativa, never rolling plain Jane. I know some people, if you want drop 50, we ain't gon' cop any. Little mama got plenty, so many strain, puffin' the flame, nothing but dro. One for the brain, one for the body, one for the soul. Running with strange, keeping the party under control. Up, away, flying, how far are we gonna go? Smoke team in the building, got 'em, it's what the deal is. Recognize coming with burns, Felix with Filming County boy got the liquor. Castle was on the fader. Stevie came with the greenery, mixing multiple flavors, whatever you want, homie. Tell me when to say when. How about you and your friends? Come get with me and my friends and keep it real with me, girl. I don't want to pretend like this is a new thing. Really, that's what it's been like.
Okay, so did you ever think that old, dirty bong water can land you in jail for 30 years? Well, that's exactly what happened literally not too long ago, and what Minnesota is now trying so hard to fix. And speaking of Minnesota, and well, a lot of other states as well actually, you may have heard of someone say, I'm heading down to the res to re-up. Well, it turns out the folks down at the res are selling herb faster than they can grow it. But let's start off with why you should not drive around with an old, used bong filled with old, smelly water.
You need to hear this if you're a fan of intriguing legal stories. In Minnesota, a routine traffic stop took a shocking turn when police discovered bong water in a Jessica Besky car. Here's where it gets interesting. Minnesota law classifies the water in a used bong as a controlled substance due to its THC content, the same psychoactive component found in marijuana. This seemingly minor discovery led to major consequences. The Besky now faces up to 30 years in prison, a potential outcome that's sparking debates about laws and their implications. Is this a fair application of the law, or an extreme measure for a minor offense? While the case continues to unfold, it raises important questions about the legality and classification of everyday objects turned into paraphernalia. What do you think? Is the punishment fitting, or...
Nah, that shit's crazy. That's why I said, hell, they just want to keep your ass for anything. That nigga got 30 years for some bong water. Water? Hell, this is why you're supposed to empty out your bong anyways. Yeah, they bad because you actually still got water in the motherfucker when they find it. Why is there water in your bong, sir? Did you use it recently, huh? Did you forget? That's some BS. Oh, shit. No, he was having a bad day.
Beskey told the Minnesota reformer that the charges against her didn't make sense. It's against common sense, she said. It's against everybody's common sense.
Now, even though that story sounds absolutely crazy and like a little bit of fiction, it's absolutely not fiction and 100% fact. That did in fact happen. And some of y'all may actually remember back in June of 2024, a woman was actually arrested and faced a possible 30-year prison sentence in Minnesota for possessing, you guessed it right, bong water. Now, this story was all over the internet, and as you guys can see, it was reported by tons of different news sources and news outlets. And now you guys can read up on the facts of that story for yourself, because trust me guys, those facts are pretty interesting. There was a lot of talk about different substances, differing weights, there was all types of stuff going on there. So it's actually crazy. First off, that someone's driving around with a bong filled with old dirty water, like, isn't that not smelly? But also the fact that someone is charged for driving around with a bong with old dirty water in it. Now you guys may think getting charged with bong water, that sounds like some straight up prohibition land type shit. But actually, over in Minnesota, the good herb was legalized since the 1st of August 2023.
I mean, that is, you don't know which one's more fucked up. The fact that you riding around with a bong with some dirty ass water in it, or the fact that they fucking putting your ass in jail for that bong with dirty ass water. They like, we gotta slap you across the head because obviously you don't even know how to keep your bong clean. But fucking, if you could be riding around with a bong, that's crazy for one, because, you know, why would you have that nice glass piece in the car? Hell, but that's, I mean, you do got to go places, but why is you taking bongs? Hell, the on-the-go travel kit needs to be these, these right here, them Wild Hemp Naturals. Shouts out to them.
This lady was arrested in 2024. But let's pull it straight into 2025, because now Minnesota lawmakers passed a bill to decriminalize bong.
I know to go check 755 out on Saturday mornings and I believe Wednesday evenings, because, you know, she usually goes right after I'm usually wrapping up. So that's always a good network employee for me, because, you know, I go usually over there and say what's popping in her chat after I get done with mine. G Mama Grows, what's popping? It's good to see. Hopefully you're doing good, smoking good. You know, she out there in them gardens doing everything out there in Ohio. You know, they high sometimes. But anyways, let's get back to the story, because, you know, 30 years for bong water, hell, that shit must have been fucking really exquisite bong water. Shit.
Water, ending the risk of decades of prison over drug residue. So finally, Minnesota has legalized bong water. Isn't that fantastic, guys? Okay, I'm just being a little bit sarcastic. And in fact, Minnesota has actually done some good things when it comes to legalization, even though certain things are taking its time and really slowing down the process for a lot of people. But we'll get into that in a bit. But have a look at this. This is really funny. According to this article, and I quote, Minnesota became the butt of national jokes after the state Supreme Court ruled in 2009 that bong water could legally be considered a drug. The justices relied in part on the testimony of a Minnesota patrol officer who claimed the drug users keep bong water for, and I quote again, future use, either drinking it or shooting it in the veins. Now, if that isn't crazy, I don't know what is. That's probably one of the craziest things that I've heard in quite some time. But let me know what you guys think about that. Drop it in the comments down below. And just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. Now, Minnesota actually legalized back in 2023, and despite what you may think of Governor Tim Walz, he signed that bill into law. And it seems that 2 years on from legalization in Minnesota, a lot of the laws are still hazy, and some of those recreational dispos haven't even opened yet. Have a look.
It's legal. There you go.
That was the official moment when Governor Tim Walz signed recreational marijuana into law, making our state the 23rd to do this. Here's what you need to know. The law technically goes into effect on August 1st, but you're not going to be able to walk into a store and buy for another 12 to 18 months. So we wanted to answer your question. Why is it taking so long to get to that step of going into a place to buy it?
Jana, part of the reason for the drawn-out timeline is that legislators who worked on this bill told me they wanted to avoid mistakes other states made when they rushed this process. And the timeline, by the way, is just one way this law will look different from most other states.
This
Despite all of the cameras on hand to capture the governor signing recreational cannabis into law, they were still outnumbered by all of the people there who spent years trying to pass it.
We're trying it in a way that is unique.
And the legislators who helped the law finally get across the finish line say the wait will be worth it.
We've learned from what happens in other states. We've built a model that will work for Minnesota specifically, and I think Minnesotans will be really pleased.
Now, in theory, that seems great. You're going to have a look at what other states did, not make those same mistakes, take your time, and really roll out a program that is supposedly going to benefit everyone. But it turns out that with so much red tape, so much bureaucracy, so many delays, it's benefiting no one. But
Too
let's
many
hear their
motherfucking
reasoning as to
chiefs.
why
What
it
up,
taken
Bud
this route.
Files? Y'all need to go check out Sue and the family over at the Bud Files.
Lessons learned elsewhere led
they
to
probably
two
got a
big
video
changes
that
to
they
how
did
this law
last night
aims
that
to
some
eliminate the illicit
watch
market.
later
We don't allow
playlists. Shouts out to
opt-outs.
them.
You can't have whole cities or counties saying, sorry, you can't have cannabis here, because that just creates fuel for an illicit marketplace. We also kept the tax deliberately low. So some states it's 30, 40%, here only 10%. So that should allow for legitimate cannabis businesses to compete more effectively with the illicit marketplace.
Minnesota will also become just the 11th state to legalize homegrown on August 1st, with a cap of 4 mature plants per adult. And once the state opens to commercial growers, they'll have caps to consider too.
So that's pretty interesting. They're allowing for home grows, but also putting caps on commercial grows. So in other words, you cannot just come in and have a massive grow operation in multiple spots and basically monopolize the entire market in that state. Florida.
And once the state opens to commercial growers, they'll have caps to consider too.
There are caps on how big these businesses can grow. The largest growers, for example, would be 30,000 square feet of canopy, and that is much, much smaller than very large multi-state operators. And then we have other incentives for smaller businesses and micro businesses, because we really want the new cannabis businesses to go to the communities that were hurt the most by prohibition, and to make sure that we're prioritizing small and local over big and national.
Now, in theory, this all sounds great. Again, it sounds fantastic. Like the people who are making the laws are actually considering the people who they're trying to govern. I'm going to break down some of the laws when it comes to home grows and possession over in Minnesota, but also a pretty interesting law that's quite cool. But before we do, have a look at why there's so much confusion even after legalization in Minnesota.
It has been now 1 year since Minnesota legalized recreational marijuana, and the landscape around the drug has changed dramatically since last August.
Our Maury Glover joining us live from the state capitol tonight with a look at where we are now and where we're going. Maury?
Well, the cannabis industry in Minnesota is still evolving, and that means some of the laws around it can be a little hazy.
I've been a weed nerd for like as long as I can remember. I've been fascinated with cannabis, and glad that it's finally okay now.
It was August 1st, 2023, when self-described weed nerds at First Avenue were celebrating the legalization of recreational. Experts say while Minnesota has come a long way when it comes to legal weed in the last year, it still has a ways to go.
I think we're at a really exciting juncture now for the industry here in Minnesota.
Since the state made smoking marijuana legal last August, only a handful of dispensaries have opened on tribal lands where the general public can buy it. The state is still working out the rules and licensing process for other dispensaries, which probably won't open until sometime next year.
So there are currently still no state licensed adult use cannabis dispensaries. Those won't be opening up until probably closer to the end of 2025.
Until then, Minnesotans who want marijuana can grow their own with state law.
Oh, that's a good thing about Minnesota. We could put that on our list of places we can go, because, at least they got the home cultivation. So let's see, Minnesota, that's up north too. Shout out to the north. One of these days we'll have to go visit South Dakota. Shout out to Heather's Chronic and Crafting, whatever she changed her new YouTube handle to, because we was over there before we got live today, and shouts out to them people up north, because we will be moving around one of these days. Hell, we ain't just gonna be sitting in the house doing homework all the goddamn me time. Hell, we'll get to another workbook one of these days. That's where we put in the work in them streets.
Allowing up to 8 plants per household. but only 4 can be mature and flowering at a time. Experts say a contradictory state law says you can only have 2 pounds in your home. So amateur growers should be aware they could yield more than 2 pounds from 4 plants.
But the law does allow for gifting under 2 ounces as long as it's not for remuneration. And so those green thumbs can give away their bounty to their friends.
Riza says outside of tribal dispensaries and growing at home, the only legal way to get cannabis is if someone gives it to you for free.
So the gifting rule is supposed to be a fairly small exception. You can make a true gift of up to 2 ounces from a person to a person.
Minnesotans 21 and older can possess up to 2 ounces of cannabis flower and 8 grams of concentrate, edibles with up to 800 milligrams of THC, and up to 2 pounds of marijuana at home. But where you consume it is important.
Private property, so backyard parties or parties in a house, yes, the homeowner can totally allow that.
So despite Minnesota's mind being in the right place, it seems that some of these laws still fall a little bit short. A lot of people know that when you allow these homegrown laws or these homegrown rules, a lot of times you will harvest a lot more than you're allowed to have under the possession laws. And that in itself causes a big problem. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to get rid of all of your excess? Well, it turns out that they want you to just gift it. Now, we've already seen years of delays when it comes to Minnesota rolling out their recreational program. As it turns out, earlier this year, a recent court ruling stopped the issuance of licenses for people who wish to sell or grow herb for the adult recreational market until lawmakers approve the rules and policies for the program.
First at 9, if you are waiting for marijuana dispensaries to open this year, you might have to wait quite a bit longer.
State lawmaker and cannabis industry consultant tells us delays could set the program back an entire year.
Brett, State Senator Mark Curran is the former co-chair of the Medicinal Marijuana Task Force and knows the cannabis program inside and out. He tells me the state has not yet established rules and policies for recreational cannabis. And Curran says until that happens, the state cannot issue licenses for dispensaries or to the growers who supply the product. The goal was to open Minnesota recreational marijuana stores in early 2025, but a judge recently ruled no licenses to sell or grow.
See, they be coming up with that bullshit like, well, there are no dispensaries and you can find it at gas stations usually, because that's what winds up happening. For some reason, gas stations will have THC and hemp products when those are supposed to be dispensary exclusive items, and that's why they're talking about opening up dispensaries, because then they'll make sure that the people coming in have to be 21 and older, or whatever the law is on legal limit. You dig, unless you got your medical card. Shout out to the Medical Over Rec program. That's what we preach around here, medical over rec, and then part of medical gives you cultivation, because that's a good sign of, hey, I'm keeping up with my own medicine. You dig? I'm supposed to be my own person, so that's how I handle myself. Yeah, but they don't know about that. What up, Bronze? Good to see you. How you doing? Y'all know to go check out Most Hated Flat Power Bronze, our big homie coming through doing his thing.
Grow could be issued until state lawmakers approve rules for the recreational marijuana program. Unless the rules are in place and approved by March, there's no way you could open up a dispensary before the end of the year.
That is correct.
State Senator Mark Curran tells me it will definitely push back the opening of dispensaries.
But that's going to be moved out to, my own current opinion would be likely sometime in 2026.
There's a whole supply chain.
Stephen Egan is a cannabis consultant for sellers and growers and often shares his data with the state. And he agrees with Senator Curran.
There's always some nuances when you're starting a new business, just like with any other industry. So I think it's fair to say that we're not looking at doors opening until the beginning of 2026.
Egan says setting up an operation is costly and time-consuming for any company that eventually gets that license to grow.
From ground up build out to doors open, it's normally 9 to 12 months when we're talking, inspections, zoning inspections, building inspections, and all that other stuff that gets added on at the back end.
Egan says smaller grow companies could open sooner, but he says it would not be able to supply the entire state.
Cars
it's just a
and
matter
pay our own
of
insurance, right?
identifying the proper
so
zoning.
why would we not be able to, grow our own cannabis and not have to deal with as many prescribed medications? Come on now, you know it's a scam. Uh-oh, see, Heather must be done with her video. Shout out to Heather for pulling up. Appreciate that. Like I said, let's keep it rolling.
Requirements and having these municipalities develop those rules for implementation because none of that has been done yet.
So counties, zones, tribal areas, it's a lot of stuff that actually goes into it, especially when it comes to what's happening down in Minnesota. And I'm going to get into some of those tribal lands and the res in a bit, but it seems that Minnesota might be a step closer to having a recreational herb launch. Check it out.
Well, tonight, Minnesota is 1 month away from a huge step forward in opening its first recreational marijuana shops. It has been a long and bumpy process since it became legal 2 years ago.
Julie, on June 5th, the state's Office of Cannabis Management will hold its first lotteries for business licenses, including growers and social equity retailer applicants that then could even open its doors just a month later. Some flowers are easy to spot in the spring.
30 different gummies, we have 50 different drinks.
It's harder to find the smokable ones at CBD shops across the state.
I am partial to the relax with the hiatus.
Like the one Sarah Bear and Philly Maudlin own.
We have people every single day come in here and ask, when is flower going to be ready? When is flower going to be ready? They call us.
Minnesota is still setting up its recreational market since lawmakers legalized it 2 years ago. A process lawyers say is laden with lawsuits, delays, and opposition.
Every state has its own bumps along the way. We've had maybe more than most, but I think we're so close to market launch at this point that all of this, I think, will be a distant memory very soon.
The first license lotteries won't be for another month for growers and manufacturers.
This is Delta 9.
Sarah Bear already securing hers, one of some 200 social equity applicants now pre-approved, including veterans and people living in high poverty areas.
We have a preliminary license approval, but there's still multiple steps that we have to go through. So it makes everything very up in the air.
There's zoning requirements, city registration, and setting up a space.
So finally, Minnesota is one step closer to opening up its doors for recreational herb. Now, you guys may have heard earlier on in the video when they mentioned that despite the fact that there's no open recreational dispos in Minnesota, you can actually go and get your stuff on tribal lands at the reservation. And that goes hand in hand with this article, which says Minnesota signs its first of a kind agreement allowing the Indian tribe to sell legal herb outside of the reservation. Now, this landmark legislation signed by Governor Tim Walz allows the White Earth Nation to operate up to 8 retail herb stores across the state of Minnesota. And some of you guys in different states, for example New York, may be familiar with these types of reservations and these types of tribal nations. But if you're not, this will explain it in a nutshell.
For the USA, tribal affairs are often an interesting subset of legislative confusion. There are 4 sub-federal levels of government that are recognized: city, county, state, and tribal. In Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, it recognizes Native American tribal areas on the same interactive level as nations. Congress shall regulate commerce and enter into treaties with foreign nations and Indian tribes. First, let's break down the numbers. Today, there are 574 federally recognized tribes, and as for land allotment, 325 reservations exist throughout the lower 48 states. This means that they have a legal relationship with the United States, bound by things like treaties and executive orders. These reservations technically fall under federal land, however, the tribes are given a degree of autonomy, and not all federal laws apply to them. Some of them prefer to call themselves nations rather than reservations, like Navajo and Hopi. This also means they hold rights like being able to elect their own leaders, have their own police forces, courts. They pay U.S. federal taxes, but not necessarily state or state sales tax, depending on the reservation. They make their own laws, like some reservations don't sell alcohol, others do. They can levy their own taxes to their own people however they want within their own reservation.
So you guys can see how these Indian tribal lands operate a little bit autonomously from the rest of the states. And actually about 10 years ago, the U.S. Department of Justice stopped prosecuting recreational herb cases on these Indian territories.
Tonight, controversy over plans to sell marijuana on local Indian reservations. The Department of Justice changing how it enforces marijuana laws on Indian lands, but the new policy causing a lot of confusion and concern.
Because so many states are making forms of marijuana use legal, the Department of Justice plans to stop prosecuting the recreational growing and use of marijuana on Indian reservations.
Everything is so much up in the air right now. This has struck us just like it has everybody else.
The new Department of Justice policy caught a lot of people off guard, including the Seneca Nation of Indians, who had this statement.
And so what we're trying to do now is just evaluate it and see if there are responsible opportunities that may be available to us.
And it so turns out that that was a good thing, because not too long after that, a lot of other tribes actually started the process to legalize herb on their reservation.
First, on the road to legalization, find out where in the state marijuana use could soon be legal. It is the first step in making pot legal in a portion of Wisconsin. The Menominee tribe is now working to make it legal on its reservation, but as Dave Delosier found, the move has far-reaching ramifications for the state and even tribes across the country, Dave.
Yeah, Michelle, at least 4 of the Indian tribe will hold an advisory referendum on the legalization of pot there. They can do this because of a unique situation. They are the only tribe that isn't bound by Wisconsin laws.
As a result, the state's criminal laws do not apply to Menominee.
Richard Monet is the director of the Great Lakes Indian Law Center. He says the Menominee Indian tribe is simply following the lead of states like Colorado and Washington.
The tribes are just acting like the states, saying we're local sovereigns and we're going to push back.
11952, please.
And the motivation behind this is simple.
I think there's no doubt that the primary is the money. And this is one of the poorest groups of people in the state.
So these states are operating autonomously even in places like Wisconsin, and now it turns out that some of these nations and these tribes are selling herb faster than they can even grow it.
In a new business endeavor for the Flandreau Santee Sioux tribe is booming.
Native Nations Cannabis opened on July 1st when medical marijuana officially became legal in South Dakota. How the business has grown since then is tonight's Your Money Matters.
We've been surprisingly busy.
After just a few minutes inside the dispensary, it was easy for our Kelloland news crew to see the constant demand for this new industry.
We're seeing between 300 and 500 people a day. We usually have a line when we start the day at 10 o'clock. There's a line standing there.
The tribe now has more than 10,000 patients registered in their medical program, and it's not just South Dakotans.
A lot of patients coming from all over the country to buy products from the tribe.
The demand has been even more than their grow operation can produce right now.
We've limited the amount we're selling right now because we don't have enough product for everybody to be to buy as much as they want.
We do run a perpetual harvest, so every week we're bringing down 50 to 80 pounds of product that we can use.
They have nearly 5,300 square feet of grow room on their reservation right now, but are nearly ready to open a second grow facility next door.
We're standing in this new facility. This facility will produce another 130 to 150 pounds a week. In our current facility, we are at full throttle. We're maxed out.
They still have plenty of capacity for manufacturing more products inside their state-of-the-art laboratory.
Open her up? Yeah, that's at least a $2.5 million laboratory right there, and it could process well over 400 pounds of cannabis a day.
We are cautious in everything that we do, and we also test everything we do. There's nothing that's on our shelf that hasn't been through testing. Everything.
It's an expensive endeavor to get started, but Native Nations is paying off in a big way for all of the Flandreau Santee Sioux tribe.
So right now we have I think roughly 55 to 60 employees at just the cannabis operation. It's directly impacted our gas station that's nearby, and I'm sure that it's impacted our other businesses too.
Their success is spreading far beyond their operations in Flandreau as their brand begins to grow nationwide.
So as you guys can see, some of these tribes are doing big things when it comes to the reservations and just stuff for the good herb. We're seeing it in Minnesota, Wisconsin, South Dakota, New York. It feels like they're everywhere. But let me know what you guys think about everything that we discussed in today's video, from the dirty bong water charge to the Minnesota laws being delayed, but also, have you ever been down to a res? Drop it in the comments down below and let me know. Now, some of you guys may have missed this, but there's some modern day reefer madness going on down in Texas, and they're just spreading straight up lies when it comes to the good herb. So if you haven't seen it, check it out because it's coming up right now.
Yeah. So like Fox Farms though, like I noticed like, so if you're going to plant a plant in
I be finding
Fox
videos
Farms, Ocean Forest,
55.
you plant a plant in there and you veg it out for like 2 months and you get that plant monstrous. and you're ready to flip it into flour, now you have to add amendments to there because there's nothing left in it.
Back up just a little bit. When you say you planted it for a couple months and it took off monstrous, do you know what's in that mix that makes that plant grow?
Synthetic salts.
It's pretty much what it is, but it's ammonium nitrate. So they spray this ammonium nitrate on sawdust, and that ammonium nitrate is like, it's like acid on a fucking slug. So think of the organic and biology that's in there. It's killing. They put that on there. You can throw a pile of that. It's called nitralized sawdust is what the industry calls it, as an amendment to mix it, and that's what they buy. Roots Organic, a bunch of them do that as an amendment, and that's their nitrogen pack. And then they tell you they put a bunch of guanos and they do other stuff, and they don't put shit on it. That's what it is, and that's the reason, the difference between a good quality soil and them, and you just explained it, is they shot up and it grew some veg and it did really well. But the thing it's missing is that now, like if you grew in my soil or some good soil, it's not always my soil, but the difference between mine, you're asking, and Fox Farm and all the case studies, Fox Farm with ammonium nitrate in the soil, that plant will shoot up really quick. It grows quick, and it's for tomato plants. Just call it tomatoes. Let's do tomato, but same thing with any other cultivar. Is it shoots up really quick and it puts off a few tomatoes, and the wind comes and that plant has no structure and it falls over and it's lanky, right? My soil versus the same tomato plant, you got a fucking heavy stalk, you got this plant that just fucking sits up and does its thing, and it's putting off tomatoes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. And why does mine do that? Because I have a living soil concept behind it. I want you to grow with bacteria. I want you to grow with fungi. I want you to do everything that is healthy in that plant. The last thing you want to do is feed ammonium nitrates in a tomato to your kids at the dinner table. If you once you know kind of, you know. So,
So, okay, but what do you guys, what's your involvement? Because the THCA stuff is the stuff that you basically, what you sell through the mail, that's what you have to do. But then are you guys involved with actual traditional as well? Like, what's the divide
We're thinking about it, but it's just like, you know, traditional, when you say like that, you mean like the California medical recreational kind of systems. Like, the thing about that is we're selling the same product, but it's way more taxes, way more, you know, licenses needed and regulation, and like, the system isn't good. Like, it's a really shitty system that's set up, like the metric system. Basically, you go in any dispensary and you're picking up a product that's like 4 months old. Like, that's like the average. I mean, for me, every time I bought from a dispensary, like, it's always at least like 3 or 4 months old.
Right.
And that's a long time for flour. Like, it's like you wouldn't want to buy like grapes or strawberries that are 4 months sitting on a shelf.
But why is it that old?
Because there's this ridiculous system where it's like from harvest it has to be quarantined and tested and moved here and moved there, and like it has to be tested by this facility, and it's like all of these steps are like, okay, it adds a week here, it adds 2 weeks there, it adds a month there, and like then it has to move from this person to that distributor as this, and like it's just like a long process to follow all the different regulations. It's like extra not necessary. I'm not gonna say not necessary because like, yeah, you want stuff to be tested, but we do the same safety tests. We do the same metals, pesticide, all that potency tests as the other side, but the extra restrictions and the extra like, okay, you have to only test with these people, you have to enter through these systems, like it just slows the amount. It adds basically a waiting time between harvest and getting on the shelf to the end consumer.
Right, like it's cool that we have legal and everything. When you talk to growers, when you talk to dispensaries, etc., it just feels like they're like pretty unhappy with the system.
The system sucks. It's
Yeah.
really bad. So a lot of people, even on the whatever side, they're looking, hey, how can I convert my license? How do I revoke my California dispensary license or their grower's license, and how do I just get a hemp license? Because then I can grow the same stuff, I can have an easier testing process that I can test it and get it out to customers faster, and I can sell all over the country and not have to have the same, you know, issues and situations. So
when you say the same stuff, like what is the actual technical
like the genetics,
difference?
like there's no technical difference or whatever. Like the hemp law says that I think it's like 15 days prior to harvest, you're supposed to get it and send it off for a testing. Like if you go and see like a lab test on like a dispensary product, it'll say like 25% THCA and whatever amount of delta 9 it says. You know, maybe it says 1% or 0.5 or whatever. Like normal cannabis doesn't have delta 9 THC, but that's like the specific wording of the hemp farm bill. It says about this type of THC that's like normally under 0.3 anyway.
Right. So basically, like a lot of smokers are kind of misled about the potential for THCA, and there's just not as much of a reason for people to have sort of like an elitist attitude about it. And that's kind of like your purpose, is to sort of like spread that knowledge or message.
I mean, I think the way that things are, like this law being in place, it allows people like myself, who I started a business with, like my initial purchase order of product was probably like $10,000 or something like that. So I started like literally with the ground up with no tons of extra funding. I've seen a bunch of people that are my customers that have started smoke shops that are like THCA dispensaries with really small amounts of money as well, like $8,000, $10,000, $15,000, and they're making tons of money now. It's like that system isn't possible for people to kind of get in just because they're passionate about the plant and they're hustlers or whatever. Like you can't just get into like the California market, or where I'm from in Florida, you can't just get into the Florida market with anything short of like hundreds of millions of dollars. And like here, it's like at least hundreds of thousands of dollars really to get started. So I like to just spread this message, and that's why I do partnerships with like people like Little Baby and like the other artists and influencers and stuff that we work with. Like my goal is like, if I can spread this information as fast as possible now, get more people into the hemp side of things, we'll have more people on the lobbying team to help keep this law legal.
Oh, okay. So that's the goal, is to not like change existing cannabis laws, but more so to keep this situation that you guys are sort of benefiting from.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm the only person in hemp. Like there's like, thousands of companies probably. And like all of them, like I've heard so many stories along the time that I've been in this space of people who got in and started with very little amounts of money just because, you know, whether it was CBD that helped them or that helped them for this, that, or the other. You know, they have their stories about why they're passionate about this space and why they've been willing to take the risk, work as hard as they have been, but able to build something up from pretty much nothing in a legal way, bank their money and everything.
Are you guys generally seen as kind of the front runner in this space?
I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest, but I feel like in a lot of things, like I've been early to the game, like especially with THCA flower, I was early. What I'd say I'm seen and recognized as in the space is like, I've done a lot of social media marketing and like online marketing. So in this kind of like Instagram, YouTube kind of community, like, you know, if you follow any of the kind of cultural people, you've probably seen my brand a bunch of times over the last years, because, you know, that's one thing that I think that I'm really good at, is marketing online specifically.
Right, because like when I think of base smokes, like that's what comes to mind, is I've just seen all these rappers doing promotion for it. And it's weird how like a single promotion can sort of easily fly under the radar and not get that much attention, but once you've seen 10 rappers do it, 20 rappers do it, then it starts to really kind of ingrain itself into your mind, and the brand name all of a sudden like has some sort of meaning to the consumer. Even somebody like me who's like massively jaded to things being promoted to me, you know?
For sure, yeah.
Definitely.
Generally speaking, people are.
So when did that, like what has the conversation been like in terms of marketing that got you to that realization? Because I know you guys are probably like massively held back in terms of what you're allowed to do advertising wise, right?
It's just about like on a lot of platforms you get deleted, and like we've had like probably 10 Instagram accounts deleted, all being like, you know, the first one was deleted at like almost 300,000, and the second one was like almost 200,000, and it's like, you know, we just burned through Instagram accounts like crazy, to the point where I don't even know what our @ handle is now, like, you know, it's like the 10th one or whatever. YouTube, we haven't really had problems so much, but Instagram in particular. Twitter's awesome because it's like, you know, they're kind of fully embraced cannabis now. So
yeah, there's tons of ads on there and stuff.
Yeah, and
it's
we can run ads through the platform on Twitter.
Really?
So.
You guys do that?
Yeah.
And is that beneficial? Like it actually works?
Yeah, I mean, like anything, like paid ads, like it's not like it's just like a guaranteed money-making machine. You have to be good at advertising. You have to know what to advertise, and like the whole funnel of like where do you send the customer and what offer they're promoting or whatever. So learning curve into it, but you can definitely make it profitable.
So when a Little Baby does like a base Smoke's promotion on Instagram, like what are you guys actually trying to drive the consumer to do in that situation? Is it to just follow you on social media? Or probably not, because that's such a precarious
go
situation.
Purchase. Like that's the number one thing that I want people to do. It's like that's why like a lot of the rapper promos that we did is like, hey, you want to go get a free eighth? Like that's kind of like our big promotion funnel is like we literally give away a free eighth, and we've kind of been improving the quality of the eighth over time that we give away. At first we were giving away like greenhouse stuff and smalls, and now we're just trying to giving away like an exotic eighth because it's working. You know, we give away an eighth and people come back.
And the consumer goes to like a smoke shop to get that, or like
no, online.
Oh, online. Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't have to give any money, and they're able to get a free eighth in the mail.
They pay shipping. $6
right?
For shipping, but you're getting an exotic eighth. So.
Damn. So on any individual, because I was like, you got to pay little baby six figures.
Yeah.
And so does a single promotion become profitable, or is it more of like a long-term play, generally
I mean, it's
speaking?
like you said, it's like, you know, one promotion might not do anything, but like I've been doing this for, Base Smokes is 5 years old now, and I was in the space since the beginning, but Base Smokes alone, like, you know, anyone might have seen it 12 times, and there's like a marketing theory that's like sometimes you need 12 impressions before someone's actually going to click through and buy it. So it's all just like, you know, when you're building a brand, it takes a long time, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of money to just keep blasting the internet with, you know, your brand logo and what you're about and what you're doing, and eventually people are like, let me give this a try.
Definitely. What, like, the cannabis industry, okay, when you're getting your Instagram deleted over and over and over, do you think that that's just because Instagram is so unforgiving about any kind of like quote-unquote drug promotion, or is it because within the industry it's so competitive that people are really like aggressively going after each other's accounts?
That's by far the more accurate answer, is that like people see what you're doing, they're like, this kid marketing, doing well, whatever, I'm just gonna go pay someone to delete his account or whatever.
Right.
That's a very common thing.
Yeah, I mean, most of the biggest related brands that I can think of have dealt with this to some extent, including the ones like Cookies that you would think would
have some sort of connection,
enough leverage to be able to stop that from happening. And you see Burner dealing with it probably like more than almost anybody on Instagram and stuff. You know, he's been pretty vocal about it, but yeah,
it sucks. And it's just like there's not too much you can do. You know, there's like back channels and stuff. Like I'm sure you kind of have seen some side of that from even this as well, but like there's no like support email from Meta or even for Twitter or for any of these platforms where you can like, hey, I'm a business and I rely on this, and like I've invested a lot of money in this and I'm losing money because it's gone and I was unjustly deleted. Like I've been deleted and it said like for impersonation or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
everybody,
hey, I'm not impersonating myself, you know, this is someone that, you know, used some report bot abuse or something like that.
Yeah, because we didn't have the No Jumper Instagram for 7 months, and then...
And that's a huge impact on your business.
Huge, and I made a video basically talking about it, and then within a couple days, like a representative got in touch with me who was able to get us back on there, which is crazy.
Luck,
yeah, just pure, like how much attention can you drive to this issue is basically like the deciding factor of if you're going to be able to exist on the platform or not. I mean, it feels like it should be criminal, but at the end of the day, like they just get by on the excuse of like we're allowed to have whoever we want on our platform and just completely ignore the way it's being abused. Yeah, it's crazy.
You ain't even a guest no more. Yeah, you family, man. I told you we're gonna bring you in quarterly to make sure all our investments are up to par. Get some insider information. That's illegal. I mean, we're gonna get some tips and some pointers. You got no insider information. With the wrong shit to say. Oh, no shit. They lock Martha Stewart up for that. White women can't get away with it. Nobody can.
What'd she say?
She had some friends who told her some shit one night at the party, and she moved some money around, and she wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Just lose the money like everybody. They made more money after that too. She went crazy.
I love her, bro. She's so freaky.
What? How you know?
She freaky though. You didn't see the post where she was talking about how they came and installed her pool. Oh, this shit legendary. It don't sound nothing like no goddamn.
Guys, 420 scene here.
back at it again with another video. You already know the drill. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and if you want to show some extra support and be a part of our VIP Discord community, if you want to chill with us on our smoke sesh live streams or get exclusive one-on-one grow help with me, be sure to check us out on Patreon. Would really mean a lot to get your support on there. Link is going to be down below in the description and at the pin message as well. Quick announcement, I partnered up with an organization called Stack Up, who helps veterans and civilians who suffer from PTSD and depression through gaming. So be sure to follow us over on Twitch, where I'll be doing some charity streams. Plus, we can smoke up and chill, watch me wreck some zombies. And if you do have Amazon Prime, drop us that free Twitch Prime sub. You're going to eliminate all ads, unlock some emotes, badges, and plus it's going to help us out a ton at the same time. Link is going to be down below in the pinned comments. It's literally the 420 scene on Twitch. I know today was the day we were supposed to come out with my unboxing review of the Mammoth Nova Sun 950 watt light. Isn't being released until the end of June, but I still have I think I got 3 packages altogether. I got 2. We still got 1 coming in literally on the day of this upload, so obviously I wouldn't be able to come out with that video. So I'm going to have that video for either Friday or next Tuesday. I might even try to squeeze it in for a Sunday upload. I know we haven't uploaded on Sundays in a while. I have the light, but I don't have some of the stuff that I need with this light, so just hang on, guys. It's really coming. If you do want to see some pictures of it, just check out my Instagram. I'm going to have that right down below. And yes, I'm going to be the very first human to try this light out, but we're going to get into all that when I get some of the other stuff Mammoth sent me to use with the Nova Sun. Today, however, I do want to talk about something that could be messing up your environment and you're not even realizing it. Like, I'm not even sure if I made a video talking about this before. I'm sure I did, but if I did, it was probably a long time ago or something. But this is something a lot of people need to consider, and it's that the humidity in your grow area is going to change because of your light. Now, that's not the only thing we're going to be talking about in the video. That's just kind of the opener, right? A lot of our grow lights produce a very dry heat, similar to the dry heat you would get from a space heater. So you ever notice how when your lights are off, your humidity usually increases? It's because your humidifier doesn't have to fight with the humidity coming from your light. A lot of your humidifiers that allow you to set your humidity level, it's never going to reach what you set your level to when your lights are on. So for example, let's just say that you're trying to get the 60% and you set it for 60%. You're automatically going to think that it should get you to 60, that desired 60% humidity level, but you set it and then it doesn't go anywhere past 48%, just as an example here. Now, I'm not saying that everybody makes this mistake, but a lot of beginners don't take into consideration of the dry heat that comes out of your lights. I think it's taken a long time for it to actually click, because no one really pays attention. Like, everybody pays attention to what your environment is when your lights are out, but a lot of people don't take into consideration, like, oh wait, when the lights are on, the humidity level is this, but when they're off, it's this. Why is that? Like, I feel like a lot of beginners don't really look that deeply into it. I promise you right now, it's not your humidifier fucking up, okay? Those of you that don't fully understand how VPD works, which is shorthand for vapor pressure deficit, it's how your temperature and humidity correlate together to get the best possible environment. So not to get you the best environment, but as a reference guide to get you that. It's like a tool, I guess you could say. For example, if you have high temperatures and low humidity, your VPD is going to be going up. But if you have colder temps and higher humidity, your VPD is going to be pretty low, like dick low, like 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. If you have high temps and you bring up your humidity, the high VPD level that you had, like 1.45 or 1 million or something, it's going to go down. Look at it this way: when you have the high temps, higher humidity that you're going to set is going to help justify those higher temps. If you're wondering what I like to have mine set for during veg, I like to keep my VPD between 0.90 and 1.10, staying as close to 1 as possible. So I like to have obviously a little bit more humidity during the vegetative stage. Now, during the flowering stage, I like my VPD to be around 1.20, 1.25, but no higher than 1.30. Once you get to like 1.30 and beyond, it starts to get kind of sketchy. Usually between 120 and 125 is the sweet spot, maybe like 110 to 125 if you're looking for kind of like a bigger range, but I try to shoot for like 1.20, 1.25. For my environment with the Black Cherry Bliss, it's at 75 degrees, 60% humidity.
humidity, so I think that falls around like 1.20, 1.18, something like that. Now, if you find yourself in a position where you have high temperatures, the worst thing that you can do is cut out your humidity. It's the humidity that helps stabilize your environment in accordance to VPD, because having more water vapor in the air and having your stomata, collected serves almost like a defensive shield. So if you have higher temps and lower humidity, so like let's first say, for example, you got 78 degrees and 50% humidity, you're most likely going to be burning the shit out of your leaves, okay? But if you increase your humidity like 65% or even 70%, which is something I know a lot of people are dead against, just hear me out, okay? It's gonna help your ladies be able to handle it a little bit better so your leaves won't be crispy. And I know what you're thinking about. Mold. Like I said in some of my past videos, my cheddar, even the cheddar cheese being the harvest, I think I even mentioned it. My cheddar cheese run, I had my humidity at like 70%, sometimes even going all the way up to 75% in flour, which like I said, most people don't recommend, but because obviously mold issues and Theo's destroying the house at 9 o'clock in the fucking morning. I never got those mold issues because I had a floor fan, a tower fan, the inline fan, and 2 overhead monkey fan. So I mean, there was no way. Mold does not stand a chance at this point. You are never going to convince me that there's anything more important about your grow than your environment. So like your VPD and understanding it, I mean, it's super crucial. So it's something a lot of beginners do overlook, but everything in growing is complementary to everything that you're going to do. And if you're a beginner watching this video, you are going to learn that all the different elements of growing that you're learning, it's all going to make sense once you put it all together. It's like a puzzle. But at the end of the day, it starts with your environment. So if you're a beginner starting out, or even if you've been doing this for a while and you move to a new place like I did, set up your stuff, throw your light on for a few hours, set up your fans, set everything up in your tent, see what your environment is going to be, and if you need to make adjustments, this would be the best time to do it. Now, you can always tweak your environment, as you're in the middle of your run, but if you want to be in the ballpark when you throw your ladies into that grow area, that's what you got to do. So hopefully this video gave you a little bit better perspective on how to understand and use your VPD charts as a really effective tool for your environment, and hopefully this gave you a better perspective on what to pay attention for, be more aware of your humidity levels when your lights are on, when your lights are off. Stop blaming the humidifier. So having said all that, before I do close off today's video, I want to thank everyone on screens for supporting us on Patreon, and for only $11.99 a month, you get access to our VIP Discord, which has helped, hundreds of you guys, smoke sesh live streams, and exclusive one-on-one grow help with me, taking you through the entire grow process. And to everyone else, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Most importantly, don't forget, use your Amazon sub to subscribe to us over on Twitch. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And as always, stay safe. Peace.
In annual revenue, but federal legalization, it would blow the ceiling off. Currently, companies navigate a patchwork of state laws, which complicates everything from operations to banking access. With federal legalization, it would open up institutional investments, remove the risk of federal prosecution, and clear the way for major mergers and acquisitions. Essentially, it turns cannabis into a national industry, just like alcohol and tobacco. And I know that's hotly contested. Now let's look at the economic effects, and they would be huge. With federal legalization, we could be looking at $100 billion in total market valuation within the next 5 to 7 years. States with legal cannabis have already seen job booms, with over 420,000 full-time cannabis jobs created so far. So imagine that expanding nationwide. Cultivation, distribution, retail compliance, and even marketing sectors would thrive. And then there's the tax revenue. State and local
Kansas City is not for everybody, and in this video I'm going to be going over 15 things that you should definitely know before moving to Kansas City. Stay tuned. So we're going to do a game show style. I downloaded this Spin the Wheel app, and in this app I have 15 things that you should definitely know about, some good, some not so good. So number 1 on our list, we have water bills. So this can be viewed as a negative for sure, because the average water bill in Kansas City is $120 per month. Let that resonate for a minute. The national average is $45 a month. So why is that? So back in the early 2000s, it was determined that Kansas City's sewer system was severely outdated. So the EPA stepped in and federally mandated Kansas City to upgrade all of their sewer systems. So starting in 2010 all the way to 2035, Kansas City is going to be updating their sewer system. And that means higher water bills for Kansas Cityans. All right, we spun that wheel. The second thing on our list is the economy. Now, this is a good thing. Kansas City has a 3.2% unemployment rate, which is below the national average of 3.5%. Now, we're seeing historically low unemployment across the board, but the job market here in Kansas City is strong. Some of the biggest industries in Kansas City are healthcare, where we have over 83,000 jobs, tech, where we've had 64 startups open since 2017, and that one was a little surprising to me, but I used to work for a tech company here in Kansas City, so if you're moving from the West Coast and you're looking for a tech job, we definitely have those in Kansas City. And manufacturing is obviously a big one here in Kansas City as well. They've recently broke ground on the Panasonic EV plant that's going to open in DeSoto, Kansas, and bring over 4,000 new jobs to the Kansas City Metro. Number 3 on the list, we have new construction under 500,000. And for this, we're gonna take a look at some statistics for new construction homes. So what I mean by that is there are few houses being constructed for new construction homes under 500,000 within the Kansas City metro area. And if we look at the median sales price for new construction, we can see that. So the median sales price for new construction homes is $537,000, and the average sale price is over $600,000. So there are very few homes being constructed under that $500,000 price point within the Kansas City metro area. In 2021, we had historically low inventory and supply for new construction homes, but you can see what's happened over the last 3 years as interest rates have climbed and homes have become more and more unaffordable. Well, then it makes sense that homes over $500,000 are going to be impacted the most. So for me personally, I think that builders in Kansas City are in trouble because they pigeonholed themselves into this higher price point, and we can see that the inventory levels have risen at an astronomical rate over the past 3 years. Next up on our list, we have the roads and the potholes, and this is something that gets brought up a lot on our Instagram page. So make sure you go check out our Instagram page. It's Moving to KC. We do a lot of new development news and real estate related content on that page, but a lot of the comments that I get over there are people saying, why are they doing all of this new development when our roads are in such bad shape? Now, I did some research on this, and Kansas City ranks in the middle of the worst roads in the country with 27% of the roads in poor condition. Kansas City is throwing a ton of money, $40 million in fact, on resurfacing and repairing the roads. And just for this year in 2023, Kansas City is on pace to resurface and repair over 470 miles of roadways, which is more than the previous 3 years combined. So while I know that the roads aren't perfect, they're definitely far from the worst roads in the country. The next one on our list is the houseless population. So this is another thing that I see commented on a lot on my Instagram page is we need to address the homeless situation here in Kansas City. So we've seen a rise in the homeless community, especially here in Kansas City, since the beginning of the pandemic. In fact, before the pandemic, we only had around 500 people who were houseless in the metro, and today we have around 2,000. So it's definitely been impacted severely since 2020, and I think the lack of affordability is really stoking the fire. But to me, it's more about what is the city doing about it, and Kansas City actually came out with this Zero KC plan, which is their strategic plan to end home homelessness within the metro. So you can go here and read the plan specifically, but I will say that right when I moved here in 2020, we saw this huge spike in the houseless community across the metro. But when you look at the statistics and the fact that our houseless community has tripled over the past 3 years, it's going to take some time to figure out a plan, and it's good to see that Kansas City is responding and they are considering ways of how we can help this community. Humidity. So overall, I don't really mind the weather, but the humidity was the one thing that I was dreading moving back to Kansas City in 2020, because I lived in Denver for nearly 10 years where there is almost zero humidity, and coming back to a place like this was a little jarring because we get several days throughout the summer where it's 100% humidity and you walk outside and you're just instantly sweating, or you hop in the shower and get out and feel like you can never get dry. And a lot of people get here to Kansas City not realizing just how humid it is, and I would definitely suggest visiting in the summer to get a feel for just how muggy it can get here in Kansas City before you decide to make the move. All right, before we move on, my name's Kyle. I'm a licensed realtor in Kansas and Missouri, and if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, living, and playing right here in Kansas City, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the bell to make sure you're notified every time we release a new video. We get tons of calls from people who are moving to Kansas City every single day, and we absolutely love it. So if you're considering a move to Kansas City, shoot us an email at info@movingtokc.net, and we would love to assist you. All right, we got back-to-back weather topics, and this one is a little bit different from the humidity and the extreme weather that we get. And when you think about the Midwest and extreme weather, the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is tornadoes. Now look, we do get tornadoes here in the Kansas City metro area. When you look at the statistics, it's more likely to hit in the rural parts of Kansas and Missouri, but we do get tornadoes within the metro area. So it's definitely something you want to consider. And most of the houses here in Kansas City have basements. So that's really what the basements are for, is to take shelter when we have severe weather. Just a few weeks ago, we didn't have a tornado, but we had kind of like a microburst where we had 100-mile-an-hour straight line winds, and there were a ton of uprooted trees that fell on houses and damaged the gutters, soffits, fascia, punctured holes in the roof. So it's a real thing to be concerned about here in the Midwest. Now, in the winter, we also get extreme cold and freezing rain. So that's my literal worst favorite part of the year here in Kansas City is the winter time because of how cold it gets. So again, if you're considering moving to Kansas City and you're not used to the cold, you might want to reconsider, because Kansas City gets really, really cold. Okay, something that I don't really care for about Kansas City is that we are landlocked. We don't have mountains. We don't have the ocean. We have a lot of lakes. I've talked about that a lot on our channel. I love going to the lake, but it doesn't replace the ocean. I absolutely love going to the beach and going to the ocean. Now, I will say that since the new terminal opened here in Kansas City, a lot of these vacation destinations are more accessible. We have more direct flights, and we're only 3 hours from either coast. So if you want to take a trip, I always try and get out of town in February or the middle of winter to kind of break up that cold season and get my beach therapy in. But if you're going to have a hard time not seeing mountains or ocean on a regular basis, then Kansas City's probably not going to be for you. The next one on our list is the hospitality of the people here in Kansas City, and that can be looked at as a positive or a negative. People here are very welcoming and friendly, which sounds great, right? Well, it depends on whether you're an extroverted or an introverted person and where you're coming from in the country, because if you're coming from the East Coast where people are not very hospitable, it's going to be jarring coming to the Midwest and experiencing that Midwestern hospitality. Now, I absolutely love it. I love how friendly people are. It makes it super easy to go out and strike up a conversation and just get to know people a little better. For the most part, I would say that this is perceived as a good thing about Kansas City, is how welcoming our city is and how friendly the people are. The next one that gets brought up a lot is how car-centric Kansas City is. So we don't have a lot of public transportation options, and we have one of the worst urban sprawls in the entire country. In fact, I was doing a little bit of research, and for every 1,000 residents, there's 1.2 miles of freeway. We have a lot of interstates, we have a lot of highways, and for the most part, people are bound to their cars, especially if you live outside of downtown Kansas City, because things are just really spread out here. In fact, Kansas City ranks among the highest in the country for their urban sprawl. So instead of building up like a lot of cities do, they're building out, and we have a lot of land to spread out, and for the most part, people want to have their space. Now for me, I live close to downtown, and I like living closer to people, in community with people, and that's just my prerogative. But I understand the other side of it as well, wanting to have your own space and, you know, live on maybe a half an acre, which we have a lot of options for that. But for the most part, you're gonna have to drive pretty much everywhere. We do have a bus system, we do have a streetcar, but it only runs north and south, and it's getting extended, so it's going to make parts of the city more accessible. But if you don't live in the urban core, well, you're going to have to commute via car. Next on our list, bad for singles. Now, Kansas City, according to bestplaces.net, is the worst city for dating. So if you're single and you're considering moving to Kansas City, you definitely want to know that, and you probably researched and figured that out for yourself. And a couple of things that we've discussed already, the sprawl does not help with dating. Because everything is so spread out, it makes it harder to meet people. And Kansas City is kind of known as a high school sweetheart type of town. People have these really close friend circles, and they marry their high school sweetheart, and they don't really look elsewhere. So it's definitely something that you're going to want to consider if you're a single person moving to Kansas City. And to that point, I often see posts on Reddit and Facebook of people who are trying to make new friends. So going back to the tight friendship circles, it's harder to meet new people here in Kansas City. But that's one great thing about working with our team, is we have the most social brokerage for real estate in Kansas City. We do several events throughout the year. That's just another reason to reach out to our team, because you're going to have instantaneous relationships working with the Moving to KC team and Kansas City Realty. We're getting to the end of our list. This next one is affordability. Now, compared to other metropolitan areas, Kansas City is definitely more affordable. However, over the last few years, it's become less and less affordable. And depending on your situation, affordable is really relative. But for instance, in Kansas City, the average rent for a 900 square foot apartment is around $1,200 a month. And again, that is below the national average. The national average is around $1,500 a month. The median home price in Kansas City is $300,000, and that has been the same for the last 2 years in a row. So again, for me, coming from Denver, $300,000 is relatively affordable when you consider that the median house price in the Denver metro is $600,000. But it varies depending on what part of the city that you live in. For instance, Johnson County, which is on the Kansas side, the median house price is $457,000. But again, that's why you reach out to us, because we know all these micro markets, and we can jump on a Zoom call with you and really comb through the inventory, figure out what it is you're looking for, and find the absolute best place for you to live. All right, this next one is, we are a huge sports town. You can see behind me, that is Patrick Mahomes hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, and a lot of people think that because of Patrick Mahomes is why we're a sports town, but that's not the case. I mean, I grew up here, and that's really one of the main things to do growing up in Kansas City. I mean, we are known for our tailgating at Arrowhead. There's nothing else like it on earth, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but, you know, look, Patrick Mahomes has definitely put a spotlight on Kansas City, but we just hosted the NFL draft here, which had a phenomenal turnout. We have Sporting KC, the Royals, who aren't doing very well right now, but they've both won championships over the past decade. In addition, we have huge sports rivalries here in the collegiate level with the Kansas Jayhawks and the Missouri Tigers. And then we also have the first women's soccer stadium being built right here in Kansas City for the KC Current. So if you don't like sports, there are other things to do in Kansas City, but we are a sports town. So if you like hate sports, well, Kansas City might not be the place for you. Now, coincidentally, the last two colors on this wheel are red and blue. And the second to last topic is politics. Now, I don't want to get too deep into it. Obviously, I'm not going to share my beliefs, but Kansas and Missouri are both red states. Kansas City, like most urban metros, leans blue. So we have people on both sides of the aisle here, and it can get a little heated, especially around election years. But for the most part, I don't see people letting their politics impact their relationships. Again, Kansas City is a very welcoming town and city, and people aren't in your face about their political stances. Ooh, confetti for the border war. I actually did a video on Kansas City, Kansas versus Kansas City, Missouri. It makes it a little unique. It's actually interesting to me that St. Louis is very similar to Kansas City in that there's a state line that separates St. Louis, Missouri and St. Louis, Illinois. Interesting that the two biggest cities in the state of Missouri are both divided almost right down the middle by a state line. But for us, it's Kansas and Missouri, and people can get pretty passionate. Again, I mentioned just a moment ago that we have intense collegiate rivalries between the University of Kansas and the University of Missouri, and it used to be a lot more intense when Missouri was in the Big 12. They've since departed and gone to the SEC, but the border war still exists, and it goes beyond sports. I mean, people are passionate about living on the Missouri side, and for the most part, the people that live on the Missouri side, they are adamant about the fact that Kansas City, Missouri is the Kansas City. I mean, that's where the airport is, that's where the sports teams are, right? So it makes sense. And I grew up on the Kansas side, and now that I live on the Missouri side, I kind of get it. Like, I definitely have more pride living in Kansas City, Missouri than when I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas. Now, part of that is that I just grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, and then I moved away in my early 20s. But since I've come back, I definitely do appreciate where I live a little bit more, but it's going to be up to you in deciding what makes the most sense for your family, and that is exactly what we're here for. So if you're considering moving to Kansas City and you just have no idea where to start, reach out to us, shoot us an email at info@movingtokc.net. What I do is set up a Zoom call with you. We pull up the map and really comb through these areas to find out what makes the most sense for you and your family. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to give this video the thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and how YouTube ranks our videos, and subscribe to our channel, as we're putting out new content every single week about eating, sleeping, living, and playing right here in Kansas City. I hope you enjoyed the 15 things that you need to know before moving to Kansas City. Until next time.
Orange. The fruit or the color? Nigga, I'm asking a genuine question.
I'm gonna go check out the big homies YouTube, Buy Me a Coffee, Rumble, Spotify, shit, YouTube Music, all of that. Yeah, you can actually listen to the big homie on YouTube Music, for those who didn't know.
Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna be there till the morning light. place for you to stay. In the garden, by the door, in the bedroom, on the floor. Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna be there till the morning light.
That's what he said, though. We got best. Make sure y'all go check out all his channels, because you know he got about 4 or 5 of them. Shout out to Cooking with Love and More. You know, the big homies be pulling up. Appreciate that. You know, we be pulling up on him too, because he's usually live every day. So, you know, to keep up with your boy. Appreciate the 9 likes. You know, it shows that those people aren't haters. And the people that actually hit the chat, you know, we rock with them definitely. Because, you know, hey, you gotta show your attendance, and then we'll know who's here. Hell, if you didn't say nothing, I ain't know you was even here. If you hit the thumbs up and didn't say nothing, hell, we know you still a real one too. Hell, although you didn't say nothing, hell, we know y'all subscribe. Anyways, y'all know to go check out the Buy Me a Coffee. Shout out to the Buy Me a Coffee, because, you know, we keep ours lit. If you need to get an example on what your monetization is supposed to look like, go over and check out the monetization side on our Buy Me a Coffee, because we got it all filled out for you. You dig? Got the shop, wish list, all that good stuff. Let's see. Make sure y'all go pick up y'all freebies.
In the garden, by the door, in the bedroom, on the floor. Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna be there till the morning light.
And y'all also know to go check out Coach Sherry. She's doing her THING. That reminds me, I still have to give her a free membership, because she's been donating over there in the supporter side. So, you know, you can gift memberships also on Buy Me a Coffee. That's a good thing about having all that good tough stuff operating. Hold on, I almost forgot.
Give it gas when I'm dipping competition, getting past, living fast, furious, staying on track, never worry when I'm spinning. Last better getting back, ride from a dog, alphabeted on us, you gon' get it back. Never split this pack. Whenever I witness cap, we ain't fucking with your fiction, facts, your conviction lacks. When I get up in my bag, I'ma spend, we ain't tripping off tax, clipping this tag, working on my wish list, cooking this cake. Let me flip this stack. You a flash in the pan, while you relaxing, I can't. But deep in the pack, the sedan, putting tracks in the sand, pushing my craft at the fan, got the people all clapping their hands, putting cash in my brand, keeping my octane high, my graded premium, not 8-9 or 8-7, and when I run across state line, I'm 9-1, I gun it, clock great time, my time come, disappearing in the dark horizon, way I cut turns, I'm as sharp as diamonds, got them on tilt like a car's alignment, this is raw refinement, not a hard assignment, I'ma give it gas, give it gas, bitch.
Shouts out to Mr. Sess Crew. Y'all know the big homie from KC Mo. We big on our Kansas City artists around here, so you know we definitely throwing some support his way. Y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a message in the bottom. You know, if you want to hit the Buy Me a Coffee link, it's available somewhere. And also, don't forget to sign up for the W program, get you some of their affiliate program going or something. I don't know. I ain't gonna keep giving y'all the freebies for free. Yeah, we know the people that listen know to listen. So have a nice day. Keep safe out here in paradise.